Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to week 3 of season 7 of the Lions Den Quiz League. We are back after another really good performance last week. I finished first in week 2 and I finished first in week 1, which is kind of nuts because I feel like I haven't finished first that many times throughout 7 seasons. So very, very happy with how things have started here, but not sure if I'm going to be able to keep it up. We will see. And we'll start with quiz number 1, which is called What If, and is a general knowledge quiz written by Benny. Question 1. What if I told you to prove that every finite group of people has a youngest member? First, you prove that any group of one person has a youngest member, then you assume that for k people, and then you prove that any group of k plus 1 people has a youngest member. So this is a technique called induction. This is something that I used a fair amount when I was taking math classes. I took a fair few high-level math classes, and I used a good amount of induction. But that is pretty much the description of how induction works. Question 2. What if you had $1 million? You'd probably have a lot of ideas about what to do. This is certainly the case for what band who muse about the things they would do in their song If I Had $1 Million. This is, I believe, the Bare Naked Ladies, which is kind of an insane band name now that I really think about it. But yeah, if you asked me to name a song by them, I would have said this and I would not have had another one, but I'm pretty sure this is the name of the band that sings this song. Question 3. What if you were asked to identify the correct ignition timing for a 1955 Chevrolet Bel Air with a 327 cubic inch engine and a 4-barrel carburetor? You'd struggle. Yes, I certainly would. Unlike Mona Lisa Vito in a climactic scene from what courtroom comedy starring Joe Pesci. No idea. I don't know if this is a movie or a television show, first of all, which isn't a good start. I don't really know who Joe Pesci is. I mean, I know that he's an actor who exists, but that's about it. And courtroom comedy, like, I think of most court shows that I'm aware of are kind of dramatic and not comedic. So basically, I have no idea, like, at all. And I just decided I'm going to guess something random and move on with my life. I think there's a show called Boston Law, I think is a thing. But I feel like that's probably more of a like procedural, like actual dramatic court show rather than a comedy. But like I was trying to, like, Better Call Saul came to mind, but that's definitely not correct. And then there's stuff like Law and Order, for example, but those are just more serious. I know Better Call Saul isn't super serious at all times, but it's obviously not the answer. So I'm just gonna say this. I think this is a show, at least, that exists. It might even be a movie. I don't know if it's a show or a movie. I can't tell. Honestly, courtroom. It might be a movie, but can I name a courtroom comedy movie? No. So I'm just gonna say whatever and move on with my life. Question 4. What if all that stood between you and being the ruler of the entirety of Asia was one swing of a sword? Anecdotally, Alexander the Great found himself in this situation when confronted with what challenge. The most lasting story says that he used his sword to solve it, which resulted in the separation of an ox cart and a pole. So the famous thing that Alexander the Great supposedly did is untying the Gordian knot, I believe. So pretty sure that's what's going on here. This is just kind of a famous anecdote. If it's something else that I genuinely don't know what other challenge Alexander famously did other than like conquering Asia, but apparently he did this before he did that. So yeah, I think it's surely the Gordian knot. Question 5. What if the Axis powers won World War II? This question is at the heart of what novel by Philip K. Dick, which was adapted into a 4-season series on Amazon Prime over 50 years after it was written. This is something that I have forgotten the name of before, but I'm pretty sure I remember it. I think this is The Man in the High Castle. I think this came up in Catfishing maybe a few months ago, which is that Wikipedia category guessing game, and I guessed Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, and I was like, dang it, like this is the other Philip K. Dick thing that I need to know. But I'm pretty sure I remembered it this time, which is nice. Glad that stuck. And finally, question 6. What if you got kidnapped? Specifically, you've been kidnapped by the Society of Music Lovers, who have used you to keep a famous violinist alive after his kidneys have failed. This scenario was posed by philosopher Judith Jarvis Thompson, who used it to examine the morality of what action. I have no idea what's going on here. Like, not even a little bit. I'm super, super lost, and I'm kind of interested to know what the answer is. But literally the only thing I could come up with was like forced organ transplants, like as in if you literally take somebody's organ to save somebody else's life, against their will, which seems kind of immoral if it's against their will, but if it saves a life, like maybe. Um, but I'm thinking like if you forcibly took a kidney from someone to save someone else, like I don't know. It's kind of an interesting question. Is this the answer? Almost certainly not. Are forced organ transplants a common thing? I don't think so, but do I have a better guess? No. I can't think of anything else. So that's what I'm going to go with. And as for what to enhance, I think induction is pretty gettable. Gordian knot, I think, is pretty well known. I might just go with bare naked ladies because I feel like that's not that easy, but I don't know. Me enhancing pop culture is not usually a good idea because if it's pop culture and I know it, it's usually not that hard. But Man in the High Castle, I mean, I don't know how well known that is either. I think I'm going to go with the band though because I feel like this is actually reasonably obscure. Untying the Gordian Knot, Undoing, yeah, same thing. Man in the High Castle, Abortion. Wow. My Cousin Vinny, I've vaguely heard of that, I think, but I'm never pulling it. But 4 out of 6, I'll take that. At least the ones I felt decent about were ones that I got correct. Abortion. How does that have to do with abortion? I'm not sure how that has to do with abortion. That's kind of interesting, but I'll have to look that up later because I don't really know what the connection is there between the kidney scenario and abortion because it seems a little different. Maybe I don't know. Anyway, let me know. Feel free to let me know in the comments if you know what's going on. I'll probably look it up after this video if this filming if I remember to. But yeah, sort of interesting, but I was never getting it. Quiz 2. It's all about things that are also Beatles lyrics, but it's also kind of just a general knowledge quiz that is a little bit easier if you actually know Beatles lyrics, which I don't, unfortunately. Question 1. Back in the USSR, Paul sings "To Let Me Hear Your Blank" ringing out. What instrument with a triangular body and 3 strings fills in the blank? I thought for a while about this because I was like, this feels like something I should know. Like an instrument with a triangular body and 3 strings sounds kind of distinctive. But I have no idea what this is. The best guess I could come up with was like a mandolin, but I don't think that's triangular. But like maybe if it's like that and it's got strings, I don't know. Does it have 3 strings? Maybe, maybe not. But the other things I thought of here were like a banjo, but that definitely doesn't have a triangular body. A harp, for example, has way too many strings, and honestly, I couldn't think of much else that made any sense at all. So I'm gonna go with mandolin, but it kind of feels wrong, but I just don't really know. Question 2. In rock and roll music, John sings "Way Down South They Had a Blank." What word, which also describes a dish of flambéed cherries originally made for a Queen Victoria anniversary celebration, fills in the blank? So presumably this is Jubilee because Cherries Jubilee is a dessert that exists, and an anniversary celebration for a queen sounds like a Jubilee. Question 3. Name drops in the short song "Dig It" include the FBI, the CIA, the BBC, B.B. King, Matt Busby, and what alliterative actress? This star of 1950s rom-coms like Pillow Talk often co-starred with Rock Hudson and is the second person mentioned in We Didn't Start the Fire. Now, here's the thing. We Didn't Start the Fire kind of sucks. It's the worst Billy Joel song easily of the ones that I've listened to, which means I haven't listened to it that many times because I don't like it. So I don't know the lyrics, especially because the lyrics are him just like regurgitating names of everything, and I don't really understand the song at all, to be honest. I don't know if I'm missing some kind of hidden meaning, but I just don't really get it. I don't find it that good. So basically, this is the explanation for why I have no idea what the answer is here. The alliterative actress I thought of was Brigitte Bardot, but I don't think that's who this is. I mean, co-starred with Rock Hudson. This is probably someone who's like American. Because I don't know if she's known for rom-coms either. I don't really know what she's known for, if I'm being honest. I just know that she's an actress from a while ago with an alliterative name. So I'm just going with it because I couldn't think of anything better. Question 4. In the folk pastiche Rocky Raccoon, Paul sings about a girl whose name was McGill and she called herself Lil, but everyone knew her as blank. The blank is filled by what first name, which is shared by Bart Simpson's voice actress, Bill Sykes' lover from Oliver Twist. I want to say Sykes is... wait, you know what? No. I'm going to look it up because I actually feel dumb because Bill Sykes... No, it is an I. For some reason, my brain thought that it was a Y in Sykes. My apologies. Looney, like, he sent a message in like a DM group the other day that was like, people got to call out my typos. So I try my best to call out typos. And then as soon as I started saying that, I realized, wait a second, that's not a typo. I'm just being a bit of a dunce. So sorry about that. Sykes is in fact spelled correctly. Bill Sykes' lover from Oliver Twist and the singer who popularized Something Stupid, for which she duetted with her father, Frank. I don't know what the last two are, but the first one is Nancy Cartwright, is the name of the Simpsons, or the Bart Simpson voice actress. So Nancy would be the first name. I didn't know the name of Bill Sykes' lover, to be 100% honest, and I don't know what the last clue is either, but yeah, somebody named Nancy, I guess. Question 5. In the third and fourth verses of Paperback Writer, the backing vocals sing what nursery rhyme? Its title is sung twice in the sheet music below, with each note mapping to a syllable. It's another music theory question, except this one you don't really need to know the specific note. It just, if you can figure out how the notes sound relative to each other, you can kind of figure this out. But it's like, this is an F, right? So it's like, can you hear that? Oh, I don't think you can hear. Can you hear me when I whistle? I don't know. It doesn't really show up in OBS. But it's like do 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 do. Anyway, that's Frère Jacques, dormez-vous, etc. Can't type accents here, but yeah, Frère Jacques. I think it's called like Brother John or something in English, but I have only ever known the French version. And then finally, question 6. One of the many, many nonsense lyrics in I Am the Walrus is about elementary penguin singing what phrase? This phrase, a Sanskrit mantra from the Upanishads, also names a movement professing devotion to a particular Hindu god that was most prominent in the 60s and 70s. So I was thinking about Hindu gods. What could this be? I was like, is it Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, like, Lakshmi, Ganesha, etc.? And then I thought of Krishna, and I think that Hare Krishna is it's definitely the name of a movement, which is probably what this is. I think this makes perfect sense, even if you asked me what Hare Krishna is or means, I don't think I could have told you much. But I think the answer here should be Hare Krishna. Jubilee feels too easy. Nancy, I don't know. How easy is Nancy? Frère Jacques, I think, is easy, relatively speaking. I mean, I might enhance... I might enhance Hare Krishna, because I feel like Nancy, the thing with Nancy is it doesn't feel that easy, but you can also get it through 3 completely distinct avenues. And the other 2 things, I feel like the Oliver Twist thing is probably pretty hard, but the singer thing, I feel like maybe this is something that's just really famous and I don't know it. So I feel like 6 is maybe a little bit safer. So I'll go with 6. And we get the captcha. Guarantee it's going to mark this wrong. Yep. Like that one, a bit of the license plate, but I'm going to pass. Dude, this actually, like, I know I keep saying it, and my, like, perfectionist, like, the perfectionist inside me is like, no, I have to actually click all the squares with that thing in it. But I think the reality is, if one of the squares just has a small part of the thing, it just doesn't count, which just doesn't make any sense. But, like, I think that's just how it is. What is that, dude? What is a balalaika? What the hell is that? I don't think I've ever heard that word before, and if I have, it went right in one ear and out the other. What in the world is that? No idea. I mean, it sounds like a Russian thing, which makes sense because back in the USSR, I guess, but no way am I ever pulling that. Jubilee is correct. Doris Day. I mean, should I know the lyrics to We Didn't Start the Fire a little better? Probably, but I don't think I care. That's certainly a name I've heard before, but I'm never going to get it. The 2 real Nancy's clued are Cartwright and Sinatra. Who's Nancy Sinatra? I mean, I guess she's the daughter of Frank Sinatra. I don't remember ever hearing that name either. Maybe, I don't know. Weird. I mean, I know of Frank Sinatra, but it makes sense that that's who Frank is. The name Nancy Sinatra didn't ring a bell. Question 5 was, I don't know why I said question 5 so emphatically there. Anyway, Frère Jacques was correct, or Brother John, or whatever it is in your native language, and then Hare Krishna. So that's 4 out of 6. Again, honestly, fine for a general knowledge quiz. I don't really mind. The 2 that I missed once again felt like ones that I just wasn't going to get. So there you go. All right, quiz 3. I am yapping probably more than average right now. Maybe I need to speed this up. Anyway, quiz 3, the Super Bowl 16 halftime show titled Salute to the 60s in Motown included a number of medleys of songs from the era. One of those songs was Let the Sunshine In, a song from what musical about hippie culture, whose other songs include Aquarius. I have no idea. I just, musicals are not something that I know, and they're not something that really interests me either. So, yeah, I mean, there have been a fair few musical questions in LDQL. I think Looney in particular enjoys asking about them, but they're just not my thing, to be honest. So I don't know. I'm gonna guess Guys and Dolls, because this is certainly a musical. Is this what it's about? Almost certainly not. But am I gonna pull the right thing? No. I mean, I could keep trying to think of random musical names, but realistically, at the end of the day, I'm just going to be guessing something random no matter what it is I go for. Question 2, the Super Bowl 31 halftime show was advertised as a bash hosted by what fictional duo? The show opened with John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd. Is it Aykroyd? I don't know. Singing Everybody Needs Somebody to Love and Soul Man, which they sing in character as this duo. Once again, I have no idea what this is. Like, Everybody Needs Somebody to Love sounds like Somebody to Love, like the Queen song. So but it's fictional, so like what? I'm just gonna say like Freddie as in Freddie Mercury and Eddie, and again move on with my life because I have no clue. Question 3, the most recent halftime show to be headlined by someone from outside the US was 2 years ago and headlined by an artist from what country who performed songs including What's My Name and Only Girl in the World with a visible pregnancy bump. This should be Rihanna, so the country would be Barbados. What's My Name is like the Oh Na Na, What's My Name? And then Only Girl in the World is Want You to Make Me Feel. Anyway, you know the one. Or you don't. Either way. Question 4. Seen below is a still from a 1984 Super Bowl commercial that ends by saying, "You'll see why 1984 won't be like 1984. The commercial heralded the arrival of what product released on January 24th of that year. Okay, so I thought this still was from a 1984 movie, to be 100% honest. I didn't realize it was from a Super Bowl commercial. The thing is, I've never seen the commercial, so I don't really know what's going on. Oh man, I thought of a guess for this, and now I'm forgetting what I thought of. What was my, for crying out loud. What was my guess for this? I'm going to come back to this in a sec. Question 5. Every year, the Deer brand Budweiser runs a Super Bowl ad featuring what breed of Scottish draft horse seen below? I believe this is a Clydesdale, which, I mean, I kind of just know some horse breeds, but also I think the Budweiser ones are famous for being Clydesdale. But, like, I associate this, like, little thing on the, not the mane, or, yeah, whatever it's called, the spine. I associate that little red and white thing with Clydesdales. Erroneously or not, I'm not sure. Question 6. A 2022 commercial that featured the tagline, "Don't miss out on the next big thing," showed Larry David turning down innovations throughout the years, including the wheel, portable music, and finally cryptocurrency. The ad, which ended up aging very poorly, was run by what company? My first reading of this question was that it was like, that he was like the protagonist and he was turning down these things because that was like what the ad was promoting. As in, like, the ad was promoting the act of turning down these things. And then I realized, wait a second, it's called Don't Miss Out on the Next Big Thing. So I think the idea is probably that Larry David is missing out on the next big thing. So I thought maybe this is actually a crypto company. And once I thought of that, I was like, maybe this is FTX because this is that one company that notably kind of crashed and burned. Thus the whole aging very poorly clue. And I think I will enhance number 5. Problem is I still don't have an answer for number 4. So, I think I'm going to pause the recording and see if I can remember what the heck my guess was for this question. Right, my guess was the Walkman, for no particular reason, but this is, I don't know, it felt like maybe it's a technology thing because, like, 1984 won't be I thought it could be some kind of tech thing. I was like, what's a tech gadget people might have in the 80s? I'll go with Walkman, but I have no clue. I think this is just kind of a famous thing that you have to know, and if you don't know it, you're going to have trouble guessing it. But I don't know what this is. When I watch the Super Bowl, not only I watch the game, but I don't watch any other part of it. The ads are completely uninteresting to me. The halftime show is completely uninteresting to me. So when I watch the Super Bowl, I just completely tune out during those times because I just don't care. This year, the game itself was also completely uninteresting to me because I did not care to watch the Chiefs play the Eagles, so I just didn't watch any of it. But anyway, kind of another sort of weak spot quiz for me, just not stuff that I know much about. But hopefully, I get a couple of these right, even if it's not through direct knowledge of Super Bowl commercials or halftime shows. But we'll see. All right. How is that wrong, bro? Did I miss one? Good lord. It just never ends. All right. Clydesdale's correct. FTX is correct. Barbados and missed the other three. I mean, makes sense. I'll take 3 out of 6. Like, it's not great, but I like the Blues Brothers. I think that's a movie, but I've never seen it. I don't know anything about it. Macintosh, like, it's probably guessable. I mean, it was a technology thing. If you asked me when the Mac was released, would I have known? Even within like 10 years, I'm not sure I would have. Um, it makes sense, but it's just like it seems like there are way too many options there. I feel like you kind of just have to know the thing. And then hair, I've heard of hair. I thought of guessing hairspray, but that's not the same thing. So would have been wrong anyway. But hair, yeah, I don't really know what that is, but apparently it's about hippies. So good to know, I guess. 3 out of 6 on quiz number 3. And we head to the media quiz, quiz 4, which is all about sort of like plans of buildings, like architectural plans. It's kind of an interesting quiz. Question number 1, name the complex from this photo. I don't know how well you guys can see this stuff, but you can probably tell, hopefully, that this is the Google. This is, I think, a very easy question with the whole pyramid and the French language and all the art. It feels like a bit of a freebie there, but I will take it. Question number 2, name the building. This one is interesting because I was thinking about this for a bit. It's clearly a very tall building if it has like whatever it is, 163 floors in addition to a spire. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm already thinking stuff like, Burj Khalifa, like Empire State Building, Petronas Towers, whatever. And honestly, like, it didn't immediately remind me of the Burj Khalifa, but I feel like it might just be that. The way that it gets like smaller and smaller as it goes up feels very Burj Khalifa-esque. The thing that worries me is that I wouldn't have thought that from the top down it looked so like you know what I mean? Like, I would have thought that it kind of protruded in all directions rather than it just being kind of like 3 bits that stick out. But I can't think of a better guess for this than Burj Khalifa, and still the way that the building seems to get smaller as you go up, like sort of thinner as you go up, just in the way that it does, I think just makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to say it's the Burj Khalifa, but I'm not 100% sure that that's right. Question 3, the names of these buildings all reference what surname? I was a little scared here until I saw the word Frank Lloyd Wright and also Museum of Modern Art. So this should be Guggenheim, because the Guggenheim in New York was notably designed by Frank Lloyd Wright. That's the one in the middle here. The Guggenheim in Bilbao was designed by Frank Gehry. I'm not actually sure which of the other 2 this is, and I'm not sure what the third one is either. But yeah, these should be Guggenheim museums. I don't know what the proper, probably just museums. Anyway, question 4. This indoor complex is one part of a building with what primary purpose? I'm not really sure why I thought of this immediately, but I think this is Changi Airport in Singapore, which is famous for having like a big like fountain and like arboretum or whatever the heck they have in there. I've never been to Singapore, so I haven't seen this in person, but it's very famously an airport that just has like a massive like green area in it. So I figure that's what's going on. Question 5, name the architect. This one is bugging me because I feel like I should know this, but I just can't think of a decent guess. My best guess was Eames, because I think that Eames is a person or people. I don't know if it's a person or people. But anyway, isn't it like Charles and Ray or something? Like architect singular? See, this is what's scaring me. This is what making me think that this is not the right answer. I know that that Eames, whether it's a guy or multiple guys, they're known for a chair. Like an Eames chair, I think is a thing. The problem is I don't know what this thing in the top frame is. Like I just don't know what I'm looking at here. Like I thought it could be like the Eiffel Tower, maybe, but I don't associate Eiffel or Eiffel with a chair. So that seems weird, and also doesn't really look that much like the Eiffel Tower anyway. So honestly, I'm super lost here, and I don't know what this big thing is on the top. But I think I'm just going to take the L and say Eames and then be sad when I see the answer. And finally, question 6, the building on the left, completed in 1886, inspired the building on the right, named after a character and completed in 1955. Either name the building on the left or the company that commissioned the building on the right. So if you see at the bottom of the picture, in the bottom left there, it looks like a castle. Is it Renaissance? I don't actually know the architectural style, but I think it's Neuschwanstein. Because the thing that's modeled after Neuschwanstein would be the Disney castle. So I assume that the company would be Disney. I don't actually know who the castle's named after. I don't know if it's like Cinderella or Mickey Mouse or whatever. But anyway, I think Neuschwanstein is the thing on the left. So hopefully I'm not wrong about that. And that's going to do it for this quiz. I'm going to be sad about 5, but I feel pretty good about most of these. Transversal? Doesn't sound like English. Typo? Doesn't count. But got to point it out anyway. Okay. I don't know what to enhance. I'm going to be honest. I might enhance the... Do I enhance Guggenheim or do I enhance Airport here? Because, like... I don't know. The Guggenheim Museum's... Like, it feels like these are just famous. Like... But Changi, especially among a GeoGuessr community, people just know the Singapore airport looks like this. I think I'll go with 4 anyway because it feels... It definitely still feels non-trivial, but I don't know. Maybe that's a mistake. I guess we'll find out soon enough. Buses. Again, are you counting the bottom 2? I'm going to go with no. Part of the bus is on those tiles, but I'm going to go with no. See? It works. Neuschwanstein is correct. Saarinen. Really? Saarinen? Was it the Gateway Arch? Is that what was going on? I mean, I guess it makes sense with the way that the one came down on the right, but what was that straight one? Why was there a straight up and down section if it's the Gateway Arch? How does that make sense? What part of the... I don't really get that. And I also expected, since I know that the Gateway Arch has like pods or whatever that you like go up, because I've actually been up in the little pod things there. But I didn't see that either. I just saw a couple little staircases. I was like, okay, I mean, that doesn't really help. But I also didn't know Saarinen was known for chairs. So honestly, yeah, I don't know. It just didn't really occur to me that that could be the Gateway Arch. It didn't look right. There were certain things that just didn't feel like the Gateway Arch. But yeah, it didn't look like the Eiffel Tower either. But basically, I just didn't have any ideas. So I just said Eames because I saw a chair. Unlucky. But 5 out of 6, I will take it. It's still a pretty solid set of questions. So yeah, not bad. Quiz 5. This is about cryptids, but it's mostly kind of just a geography quiz, which is nice because I know a lot more about geography than I do about cryptids. Starting with, Nessie isn't the only aquatic cryptid from the British Isles. The sea serpent Morgar is thought to inhabit Falmouth Bay, which is adjacent to what peninsular county? West of Falmouth is the port of Penzance, and west of that still are the Isles of Scilly. So the Isles of Scilly are off the coast of Cornwall. Oop. Not in the right place. Cornwall, which is also, peninsula, so it makes sense. Penzance is in Cornwall, etc., etc. So that works. Question 2. A sauropod-like creature called the Mokele Mbembe from the Lingala, for one that stops the flow of rivers, is thought to inhabit the basin of what river? It flows past 2 adjacent capitals before meeting the Atlantic Ocean near Matadi. So Matadi is the city near the delta of the Congo River. So this is going to be the Congo. Or is it a delta, or is it just like a mouth? I don't know. Either way, should be the Congo, because that's where Matadi is, and the 2 adjacent capitals are Brazzaville and Kinshasa. The Yeren is a reddish primate thought to inhabit the mountains of which Chinese province. Many recent studies on zoonosis have concerned the very real animals at the Huanan Seafood Market in this province's capital. Make sure not to confuse the province with a similarly named one that just changes the second letter. So, the similarly named Chinese provinces are Shanxi and Shanxi. One of them has 1A and one of them has 2 A's, but those aren't the second letter, so it's not them. And so the options here are Hunan and Henan, and then there's Hubei and Hebei. So my first thought was like, okay, the seafood market is called Huanan, so if it's Hunan, that's like a bit wacky because that's really close to the answer. And then I looked a little bit more closely at what was going on in the rest of the question, and the whole animals at a seafood market. I don't know if this is the right connection to be making, but it reminded me of the whole COVID thing, like the whole originating in Wuhan kind of theories. And Wuhan, I believe, is the capital of Hubei. I think it's Hubei. I hope it's not like Henan, but it goes Hebei, Henan, Hubei, Hunan from north to south, and I'm pretty sure Hubei is the Wuhan one because I think Hebei is the one that surrounds Beijing, but Henan is I think like Zhengzhou or Zhangzhou. One of them. I get Chinese cities confused, but I'm like 90 something percent sure that Hubei is the capital of, or Wuhan is the capital of Hubei. So hopefully Wuhan is what we're talking about, basically. I feel like if the answer was Henan or Hunan, it would be really, really close to the name of the seafood market. So I feel like Hebei is probably better anyway. So hopefully it's not Hebei. But I think this should be what's going on. Anyway, I'm yapping way too much today. Question 4. An innocent species of sand boa may have been the inspiration for the Olgoi korkoi, a death worm thought to inhabit what desert? Many dinosaur fossils have been discovered in this desert's Nemegt formation. I think this is hopefully the Gobi because Gobi very famously has a lot of dinosaur fossils, and Nemegt sounds Mongolian enough to me that it would make sense. Again, Olgoi korkoi kind of sounds like, Olgi and like Karkorin, for example. These are just place names in Mongolia, but yeah, sounds Mongol enough, so hopefully it is the Gobi. Question 5. Scientists didn't believe indigenous voices that the Chacoan peccary was still alive and kicking until it was rediscovered in the 1970s. Specifically, those cute pigs were found in what southernmost of the 3 countries that make up the Gran Chaco region. This country's southernmost city has a name deriving from the now extinct Yagan language. So, my thought was that this is Argentina. The Gran Chaco is notably in Argentina. I think it's also in Paraguay, and the other one I think is either Bolivia or Brazil. I'm not actually sure which, but like Chaco province, of course, is in Argentina. The only other option here is like Uruguay, but I don't think that is part of the Chaco region. Like I think that's too far southeast, but I could be wrong. Like it could be like Argentina, Uruguay, Brazil. But either way, I know it's in Argentina. What am I saying? I know it's Argentina because it says southernmost of the 3 countries. I know that Gran Chaco is in Argentina, so it's got to be Argentina, right? Unless it's Chile, but I'm quite sure that the Gran Chaco is not west of the Andes. So anyway, should be Argentina. Southernmost city makes sense. Of course, that would be Ushuaia. Argentina is kind of famous for having a southernmost city. More so than most other countries. And finally, question 6. The Ogopogo, a monster whose mother was an earwig and whose father was a whale, is thought to inhabit Okanagan Lake, or I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce what that is, like some kind of indigenous word, one of the fjord lakes in the mountains of British Columbia. Okanagan Valley, Okanagan Lake, those are all place names that are just notably in British Columbia. And I think I'll enhance Hubei here because it feels like the hardest question, even though I'm not 100% sure that it's right, but I think I'm confident enough that it's probably worth the enhance. So yeah, Hubei and Prey. Cars, okay. And British Columbia, Argentina, Gobi, Hubei, Congo, Cornwall. 6 out of 6. Absolutely beautiful. And a job well done on the geography quiz. Glad I was able to get that. Again, I don't know much about cryptids, but it was really just a geo quiz, so I'll take it. So we head to quiz 6, which is a history quiz. There is speculation that drugs helped facilitate the overwhelming states of fury seen on the battlefield among what bear-worshipping group of Norse warriors who would allegedly become almost unstoppable in these states. These are called berserkers. This is where the term berserk comes from. Yeah, I think it derives from a word for bear, a Norse word for bear, maybe. Not 100% sure about that one, but I'm pretty sure these are berserkers. Question 2. The word assassin is derived from the Order of Assassins, a sect active around Persia a millennium ago, which claimed responsibility for the killing of multiple high-profile leaders. They get their name from an Arabic term indicating that they smoked what substance? A type of pressed marijuana resin. So, pressed marijuana resin, I don't know. As someone who does not partake in such things and never has, this is not something I know a lot about. My thought here was that this is khat because I know that this is a psychoactive substance that they use in the Arab world. I think it's famously used in like Yemen. which isn't that far from Iran. I'm not sure. It's probably wrong because, like, I don't think it's marijuana. Like, I think it's a different plant. But I'm not going to come up with another name for marijuana other than like whatever informal street names for it, which I don't think any of those are correct either. So I'm going to say Kats. Yeah, I don't feel very good about this question, though. Question 3. What Welsh privateer led raids on Spanish colonies in the Caribbean, after which he became wealthy enough to found several sugar plantations in Jamaica? And today he lends his name to a brand of alcohol. The last clue kind of helped confirm it. I was pretty sure it was going to be Henry Morgan. Either way, but this is, of course, Captain Morgan from the I think it's a whiskey brand. So yeah, Henry Morgan is his name. Question 4. George Atzerodt changed the course of American history when he spent a night drunkenly roaming instead of assassinating what man? Atzerodt was ultimately hanged on conspiracy charges, while this man became president of the U.S. after his predecessor was killed by one of Atzerodt's co-conspirators. I can't speak anymore. So, 4 U.S. presidents have been assassinated. One of them is James Garfield, who was assassinated by Charles Guiteau. The guy who succeeded Garfield was Chester Arthur, which seems kind of obscure for a quiz like this. Also, did Charles Guiteau have co-conspirators? I don't think so, because I feel like I know a fair amount about Charles Guiteau at this point, thanks to Salmonella and other sources. So I don't think it's that. So that leaves 3 options. Another option is JFK was assassinated, so the answer here would be Lyndon Johnson, which, again, like, I don't know. Like, Lee Harvey Oswald, like, does that make sense? Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I don't know, but it still doesn't feel, it's not the thing I decided to guess, basically. A third option is that it's Andrew Johnson, who was the guy who succeeded Abraham Lincoln, which could also make sense. Did John Wilkes Booth have co-conspirators? Probably. But I don't know too much about that whole situation. So it could be Andrew Johnson. It could be Lyndon Johnson. So they're both named Johnson, so I could hedge my bets to say Johnson, although I don't know if I need to be specific. But anyway, the fourth one would be the assassination of William McKinley, who was succeeded by Theodore Roosevelt. And I thought it would make sense if Theodore Roosevelt was the answer, because I feel like he's more well-known, at least, than Chester Arthur and Andrew Johnson. And so it feels like a reasonable answer line for a quiz like this. And, like, did Leon Czolgosz have co-conspirators? I don't know, but he certainly could have. I don't know too much about him. But I think I like Theodore Roosevelt the best of the 4 answers. I'm assuming, I mean, the fact that they didn't say be specific about the first name makes me think it's not a Johnson, because if it was a Johnson, they would probably say first name required, maybe. Although maybe that would make it too obvious. I don't know. I could hedge my bets and say Johnson, but I'm guessing I wouldn't get credit, honestly, for doing that. So I'm just going to say Roosevelt and be done with it, because, I mean, honestly, Roosevelt, they would also have to say be specific. So I think the whole be specific thing, I think, narrows it down just a little bit too much. Although, to be fair, it would kind of work for this question, wouldn't it? Because, like, you have 2 Johnsons and a Roosevelt. So, like, saying be specific, the only person that actually eliminates is Chester Arthur. So, I don't know. I feel like they could have said be specific. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just be specific anyway when in doubt. It's one of those 3 guys. I'm going to say Teddy Roosevelt. I am like, I don't know why I'm yapping right now, like, to the degree that I am, but I am talking way too much. Question 5. The underground museum seen below is a faithful reproduction of what person's war room complex, where he also lived for a time. This person is known as a heavy drinker, but his cigar habit would probably be the more bothersome vice in an underground bunker. So this is interesting. My thought here was that it could be like Winston Churchill, because I think he was a cigar smoker. At least I associate him with cigars. My other thought here was like Fidel Castro. But if this is a faithful reproduction, the map says the world in English, which makes me think if it really is a faithful reproduction, if it was a world map, it would probably be in Spanish if it was Fidel Castro. So it makes sense for it to be an English-speaking person, and I think Winston Churchill just makes a lot of sense if he would have a war room, if he had a cigar, etc. So I'm going to say Churchill. In question 6, Shirley Temple, who gives her name to a mocktail, served as the ambassador of Czechoslovakia from 89 to 92. During most of that time, Alexander Dubček served as the head of Czechoslovakia's Federal Assembly. He had earlier served as leader of the country during what period of reforms which sought to bring about socialism with a human face. So there are a few terms I associate with like Czechoslovak history. There's like the Prague Spring, which I think is the answer. There's also like Velvet Revolution, Velvet Divorce, defenestration of Prague, etc. But I think the Prague Spring, I mean, the Prague Spring is definitely, I think it was like, I want to say 60s or 70s because it was before the whole Velvet Revolution thing. But I think it is a period of reforms that I think that's what it is. And I can't think of another thing that would possibly be this unless it's something I've not heard of. So I'm pretty sure this is what the Prague Spring is. So that's what I'm going to say for question 6. I'm actually not sure what to enhance here. Churchill seems, I'm not sure, and even if it is, it feels guessable. I could just say Prague Spring. It's pretty famous, though, isn't it? Especially among Europeans. I could enhance Roosevelt, but I'm just not confident enough that it isn't one of the Johnsons. Henry Morgan feels just, Captain Morgan just feels gettable, but I don't know. I don't love that. Maybe I go for number 1. How well known are Berserkers? I'm not sure. I might enhance 1 here. This might be a mistake. I don't actually know how well known of a thing this is, but I don't think it's super trivial, so I'll go with it. Henry Morgan, Berserkers, Hashish. Okay, Andrew Johnson. Man, dude, really? Okay, so it was a John Wilkes Booth co-conspirator, apparently. I mean, it makes sense. It was certainly one of the options. I just thought, well, I don't know. For some reason, Roosevelt was calling to me more. Maybe because he's more famous than Andrew Johnson. I'm not sure. But it's a bit unfortunate, isn't it? Such is life. Hashish. I don't know what the hell that is. I think I've heard of hash. I've heard of it under that name. I think I've heard the word hashish before, but like, if you asked me to what that was, I would have said it's something to do with weed, and that is all I know. But I realistically have no idea what that is, nor do I have much interest. But I guess if it comes up again, I might remember it. So there you go. Yeah, so that's 4 out of 6. Prague Spring was indeed correct. Churchill was correct too, so I'm happy about that guess. And Berserkers and Henry Morgan. So again, 4 out of 6 is totally fine. Not a super easy quiz, so yeah, I'll take it. Finally, quiz 7. It's a current events quiz. Another thing that I'm bad at. I just don't know things about current events because I don't pay attention to the news because the news is incredibly depressing, and I feel like I get the news that I need because if it's really notable, I hear about it anyway. And spending time reading and watching the news does nothing but make me sad and depressed. And it's like, why would I do that? So basically, again, that's my excuse for why I don't know the answers to this quiz. Question 1, January 1st is Public Domain Day. This year, which artist's works, including the dance, entered into the public domain? I don't know. I'm going to say Paul Gauguin. I feel like this looks reasonably similar to Gauguin's stuff. And he's most famous for painting like Tahitians, not like red people or whatever's going on here, but it looks similar in style to him. So he was just kind of my first thought on this. Question 2, on January 9th, Joseph Aoun was elected president of what country? After a lengthy vacancy at the position. He succeeded Michel Aoun in the position. They are unrelated, but are both Maronite Christians. Once again, I don't really know what's going on here. It sounds French, like Joseph and Michel are like French names, and Aoun sounds... I mean, to me, Aoun kind of sounds like almost Arab, which is interesting. My thought here was like Chad, because like the Aouzou Strip, for example, is like a piece of land in northern Chad. So like Aoun, Aouzou, it sounds kind of familiar. But like, what is a Maronite Christian? Like, I feel like that's what I'm supposed to use to get this question. But I feel like I've heard that term too, but I can't think of what it actually is. So that's probably a really good clue, but I don't think I'm going to get this. My other thought was like Haiti, because I know that there's been a lot of shakeups, I think, in Haitian leadership, because like Moise was assassinated, and then Henri, I think, is the guy who replaced him. I don't know if anyone replaced him after that, but I've never heard of these guys. So I'm gonna go with Chad because it sounds like Aouzou, but this is like such a ridiculous thing to be using. It could be Niger, it could be Benin, it could be Togo, it could be, you get the idea. It could be a lot of things. I'm just guessing. Question 3. On January 15th, director David Lynch died. One of Lynch's best known creations is what TV show about an FBI agent investigating the killing of Laura Palmer in the title town. This is Twin Peaks, which I wouldn't have known like probably 2 weeks ago, or, well, okay, a month ago I wouldn't have known it. But we went to a trivia night a few days after I think David Lynch died, and there was an entire trivia round about David Lynch. We did not do particularly well about it on it, but at least one of the things I learned is that he is famous for creating Twin Peaks. But before he died, I'll be honest, I don't think I'd ever heard of him. So yeah, but I'll take it. I think it's 1 out of 3 at least. I don't know if I have the others, but anyway, I'll take it. It's a bit of a rough quiz for me. Question 4: the World Economic Forum was held in late January. The forum, which brings government officials together with members of the private sector to discuss the economic state in the world, is held every year in Davos, Switzerland, which, I don't know current events, but if it's something that happens every year, it might be something I've heard of, and just having studied economics, etc. The Davos thing, the World Economic Forum, is just something I've heard of. So that should be the answer there. Question 5. The post below was made on February 3rd by the president of which North American country? This country's crime rates have fallen precipitously over the last 5 years in the midst of a fierce crackdown on gang activity, which has led to over 1% of this country's population currently being imprisoned. This is, Nayib Bukele is the president of El Salvador. Don't know much about him. I've heard he's a bit of a nut job. The whole, I think he's trying to make... and he's trying to make Bitcoin the official currency of El Salvador, which is absurd. So this guy's famous enough that I've just heard of him kind of through the grapevine, even if I don't pay attention to politics. But I'm pretty sure I also saw this tweet too. The thing with Twitter now is that being owned, like Elon Musk has essentially just turned Twitter into his own personal propaganda machine. So it doesn't matter if I don't follow Elon Musk or anyone associated with him. His tweets are still at the top of my feed because he owns it and he can do whatever the hell he wants. So I still see tweets from Elon Musk. I still see tweets from Donald Trump, and I see tweets from people associated with them. And it sucks because I don't care. I'm just on Twitter because I want to see stuff about sports, and it's really quite sad what the platform has become. Finally, question 6. At the Millrose Games on February 8th, 2 American runners broke the world record for distances that are not Olympic events. In one of these distances, Yared Nuguse set a new world record of 346.63, and in the other, Grant Fisher set a new world record of 722.91. Name either of the distances over which these world records were set. Best guess I have is a mile, because it's non-Olympic. Olympic events are generally in meters, and there are a lot of them. It's 100 meters, 200 meters, 400 meters, whatever. I think that a mile would correspond roughly to 1,500 meters, approximately. So 1,500 meters I know is an Olympic event, so I'm not going to say that. But I think 346 makes sense, because I think for a long time, the 4-minute mile was the kind of a goal to achieve, and I think it was achieved quite some time ago. But I think we have run miles below 4 minutes, but I don't think we're that far below 4 minutes. So I feel like 1 mile makes sense as a guess. The other one might just be 2 miles or something. I haven't done the math. It's probably not 2 miles. That doesn't make sense because it wouldn't be less than double. But anyway, I am yapping an insane amount. But we are finally at the end. And what am I going to enhance? Twin Peaks feels easy if it's pop culture, and I know it's easy. The problem is these are all probably not that hard. How famous is Davos? I'm going to go with Davos. Maybe this is this really is quite famous, isn't it? Do I go with El Salvador instead? I feel like Bukele is famous too. I don't know. I mean, the thing, it does say North American though. The thing is that his name is not very Spanish sounding, which could throw people off the trail, but it does say North American, so it kind of helps people out in that way. What do I enhance here? Man, how famous is the Davos thing? I think it's really quite well known, but dang it. Dang it, dang it, dang it. I got enhanced 4. This might be a mistake. 5 might be better. 6 might be better. Heck, I don't know. I'm just gonna click, like, do these count? Like, how much of the wheel is enough of the wheel to count as part of a motorcycle? Like, does this count? Does this count? Does this count? Does this count? Does your head count? Like, I don't know. I'm just gonna click those 6. Okay, apparently that wasn't right. Sick, bro. Again, this one is right, but it's gonna be wrong. This one's right, but it's gonna be wrong. This one, maybe. Nice. All right, 1 mile, good. 3,000 meters, sure. El Salvador, Davos, Twin Peaks, Lebanon. Oh man, Lebanon. That makes sense because it's like Arab sounding, but it's French. Ah, I didn't think of Lebanon. That makes so much sense, actually. Maronite Christians. I mean, yeah. I think of like, I guess like Druze is a thing in Lebanon, and there's a few religious movements there. But I know that they have a lot of Christians for an Arab country, so it makes so much sense. It really does. I should have known. And then Matisse. Dang it, man. Again, that's really, I should be getting that. I should always be getting that. I didn't think of Matisse. I should have thought of Matisse. I mean, I'm not very good at identifying different artists from works that I've never seen, but I mean, Gauguin I think was a fine guess, but I really should know what Matisse's art looks like. But 4 out of 6, because 1 mile was correct, Davos, etc. So I think that was a solid set of quizzes. It was felt like it was pretty uniform all the way through. I think I had 1-6 on the geo quiz, and I think 3 was probably the lowest that I got. So I think it was a good week. I don't think it's first place though. I mean, I can hide my camera so you guys can see who's where right now. But yeah, we'll see my score the deadline's in 4 minutes, so we'll see my score very, very shortly. And yeah, I guess I'll stop blabbering and I'll just see you guys when we actually get the scores. My guess is I'm going to be in 6th, right between Saluna and Iguana is my guess. But yeah, I guess we'll find out soon. Alrighty, scores are in, and I finished in 8th place, so I was just below Iguana, actually 0.12 points, slightly wrong about where I thought I was going to be. But 8th, not a terrible finish, honestly. I'm only like 6 points off of number 1. So, it could have been worse. It was definitely a tricky week for me. I did quite well on the geography quiz. Was one of only, looks like 3 gold medals on that one. So, happy with that one. And there were a few other quizzes that were good as well. I mean, I got 4s almost across the board. I had 1-3, 1-5, and 1-6. But yeah, in the end, again, pretty happy overall. Pretty good performances. There were just a few questions, a few subjects that were not really up my alley. But yeah, I think are the overall standings updated? They are. I am in 3rd place. Oh my gosh, it's tight at the top. Can you guys see this? No, you can't. Oh, that is not what I'm supposed to get rid of. So, Rasmus is in first, 112.95. Then we've got Saluna at 0.38 and me at 0.13. So all of us are within a point of each other at the top of the overall standings, which is very fun. So yeah, it's going to be a tight race for first place, at least in the regular season. I'm not even sure if there's going to be a championship, so this might be all it is. But we'll see if I can see if I can stay near the top. Rasmus is hard to beat when it comes to the overall standings, but I'm keeping pace for now, so see if I can make it happen. Anyway, thank you all for watching another week of the LDQL. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next week for week 4. Until then.